Welcome, everyone, to the Over Under Movies podcast, the show where we take a prominent figure or franchise in the world of filmmaking and ask the simple question, are they overrated or are they underrated? I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, is Mr. DeAngelis.
Thank you, Jason. Welcome, everyone, to our first podcast of 2025. We're recording this still in 2024, so we're in the past.
Yeah, unless we record a Sonic episode.
Speaking to you in the future, we're not doing a Sonic episode.
Yes, we are... Say it again. I'll cut the line about Sonic.
We're also joined by a special guest.
No, keep Sonic.
We're doing Sonic.
Mr. Shane Emery is here.
Hello.
First four-time guest on the pod. I think we're just going to call you Shane now. No more last name.
Yeah, they know you.
You're like a big-time Survivor contestant.
Oh yeah, like when they just keep bringing you back, like the Boston Rob. Like.
The cool Survivor contestants get regarded as their last name.
Oh yeah,
instead of their first name.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
Well, we'll do the reverse. So you're just Shane for every pod now. So Shane's back on the pod for the New Year's. This is our last episode, technically, of 2024. We're wrapping it up. We're doing our top 5 lists of the year. This is a big one. Jason, this is our first full year doing this podcast. We started, 14 months ago?
Yeah, like the end of 2023, we started this podcast.
So this is the first year that both of us really made an effort to watch a lot of movies. My Letterboxd this year, I'm at 102 movies this year on my Letterboxd. Not all of them are 2024 movies.
Right.
But really trying to get out there and watch a lot of stuff. So I'm excited to talk about this, but I don't know if you guys feel the same way. It feels like 2024 ended up being kind of a weak year for movies.
It felt like there was a tide shift in a way because the strikes were happening last year, so Hollywood didn't have a full slate, and I feel like 2023 was a very big year because a lot of COVID movies that were delayed because of COVID came out then, so it was this big release year, and this year just felt kind of strange. The streaming bubble popped also, so again, a very weird transitional period. There weren't as many bangers, I'd say, of like Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, not only box office wise, but I think we're gonna see with awards season, the stuff that I'm seeing on the Oscar shortlist. It's these movies are fine,
and it's stuff we might not have gone to see in the theaters. Yeah. Last year, I feel since I got a Letterboxd in 2022, I've been whoa, so many good movies this year. RRR, I think, came out in 2022. And then Everything Everywhere All at Once was around that era. There was just a lot of stuff that were both independent, but still got a ton of buzz, had a lot of mainstream breakthrough. And then this year, pretty much everything that was in the zeitgeist was a sequel or a remake. There was a few independent movies that broke through a little bit, but
that's the thing I will say is that there have been some mid-budget independent movies that have again, they're not doing the big numbers, but they have kind of broken through the zeitgeist, and some of them actually done really well. I'm sure we're gonna bring up at some point. The Substance was one of the big winners this year. I feel almost I think doubled, tripled its budget, in the box office. Again, was and consistently it was in the Letterboxd top 10 for almost 2 months when it got released. So that was a very big win for that movie. Again, for able to break even and then some turn a profit. So I think there's definitely some winners this year, even if they're not the way that we've been conditioned to look at the box office in terms of $1 billion.
There were a lot of those that I missed this year. The Substance was a big one. Honora, I think, surprised people. I don't know how it did at the box office, but I know that was in the zeitgeist.
They did pretty well. Again, not Deadpool Wolverine numbers, but I think it did turn a profit. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Maybe looking back on this year, once I catch up on, I'm sure when the Oscars roll around, I'll watch those movies. And once I see those, maybe I'll be actually 2024 was a great year for movies. And I just didn't see these movies.
Yeah, but 2024, it's the context around it is that, last year was the strikes. And so a lot of stuff got delayed into 2024 to the point where studios are just pushing stuff into 2025. Jason, next week we'll talk about our top 5 anticipated for 2025. 2025 is a loaded year.
Oh, it's so stacked.
There's a lot of big movies coming out then. Like, so again, it's going to be a very big year. And so I feel like when we look back on this year, it's going to be kind of what was really going on there? But I do think there's going to be some movies that really do stand the test of time. Like when we look back at it in a couple of years.
Yeah. And I think we'll talk about some of those movies today. But before we get to that, I just wanted to read off the top 10 grossing films of 2024 worldwide box office. Now, I also did this in our last episode, which was about our favorite movies of 1999.
Great episode.
But I guess either this list has changed or
you're
it's been updated.
You're reading the domestic box office in that one.
No, I wasn't. I was reading the worldwide. You were reading the domestic for 99.
Okay.
I didn't find the same thing. But 2024 worldwide box office this week. At number 10, we have Beetlejuice. Number 9 is Venom: The Last Dance. That's kind of surprising. Then number 8, Kung Fu Panda 4. Shout out to Universal, DreamWorks, Comcast.
Shout out to Jason being employed.
Aquafina.
Number 7, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. Number 6, Wicked. Number 5, Dune Part 2. Number 4, Moana 2. Number 3, Despicable Me 4. Number 2, Deadpool and Wolverine. And number 1, Inside Out 2. So that's kind of what we're working with here.
So nine sequels in Wicked.
Yeah, 9 sequels,
which is an adaptation of like one of the biggest Broadway shows and one of the most well-known iconic movies. So
yeah, and kind of a prequel.
So 0 truly original movies cracking the...
None. And you should compare that to the list from 1999, or just listen to us talk about it a week ago.
Yeah, it's on the podcast. It's on the feed you're listening to right now.
But anyway, this week we're here to talk about our personal favorite movies of... What year is this? 2024? 2024, baby. So each of us has come here with a list assembled of our 5 favorite movies. We each have a different list, and we're going to talk about it. So the way this works is I'll have Dylan say what his number 5 is, and if one of us has it higher on our list, we'll wait to talk about it till then. Then Shane will go with his number 5, and then I'll go. Before we get started with that, let's do some honorable mentions. I mean, I have my top 10. Dylan, you didn't make a top 10? Right?
I didn't make a top 10, no.
If you want to think of some honorable mentions while we rattle off our, 6 through 10s, you can do that.
Are you doing your 6 through 10, in quick succession? And then
Yeah. We're not going to
fives?
go into it.
I mean, I have a couple honorable mentions that, didn't manage to crack my top 5 list. Mainly, it was a pretty good year for horror.
Yeah, it was.
I really liked Longlegs. The Longlegs didn't make it into my top 5. I really liked Smile 2.
Smile 2 was one of the biggest surprises.
Smile 2 was a huge surprise. My biggest issue with Smile 2 is that it's too similar to Smile 1. It's kind of just Smile 1 with a bigger budget, and I wish that they would have zagged a little bit more in the way that the story plays out for the film. The lead actress, oh my god, I'm blanking on her name, the pink Power Ranger from reboot.
Yeah.
And Jasmine.
Yeah, that's right.
She's really good. She's really good in Smile 2. She's got amazing scream queen energy.
Yeah, and one of the best endings of the year.
Yeah, the movie's insanely chaotic. The Smile films, both of them, it's a cool franchise, even though it's basically The Ring,
right?
Just in a different format. Really liked it a lot. And then the last one I want to talk about is The First Omen, which came out earlier this year, which is a prequel to the Omen franchise.
Yeah.
Which is about the baby that turns into the Antichrist and tells the story of the baby's mom.
Again, that was another big surprise for me. Is I haven't seen the original Omen. I just was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna watch on a Thursday night. I guess I'll watch The First Omen. I was so engaged.
You're this is fucking crazy.
Yeah, and it's really scary. And the fact that it's an homage to Italian horror from the 70s, and it doesn't feel kind of a cheap you remember this? Remember, Suspiria? It actually does feel fresh and original. It's a great direction. So yeah, great movie.
Yeah, really solid year for horror overall. I've got more horror films coming up in my top 5. So
Oh, cool.
We'll talk about them when we get to them.
Nice. All right, Shane, what about you? What do you have in spots 10 down to 6?
Okay. Honorable mentions, I have Juror number 2, which is Clint Eastwood's movie. Really good. Shame that it kind of just got a very limited release, but I think it's on Max now, so go check it out. Furiosa, I'm sure we might bring this up later. It might be one of your top 5s, but really good movie. I liked it. Challengers. Then I had The Substance. Final ones I'm going to give a shout out to are Kneecap. It's an Irish language film about a rap group. a real life rap group, and it has the real life members in it. Really great movie. And then I want to say A Real Pain, Jesse Eisenberg's film, and then Hitman starring Glenn Powell. This was really the summer of Glenn Powell. Palisades is on, and Hitman. It's great. Go check it out.
Hitman was a lot of fun. For my honorable mentions, I have Heretic at my number 10. Heretic was just a pretty cool
good horror film.
Yeah, kind of stupid, but still vaguely cerebral type of movie. At number 9, I have Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Yes.
Awesome movie. Just saw it. Really amazing stuff. Shadow the Hedgehog is probably, I would say, the most iconic of the cinema icons of this year. Then I have Lisa Frankenstein, which I think was just a super fun movie. I think it had like a February release or something. They really just dumped it into a time slot no one watches, but that was a blast, that movie. Then I also have Furiosa. And then at number 6, I have Nosferatu, which was also a recent movie.
Nice.
But I thought it was good. So yeah, we can jump right into it with our top 5 list. Dylan, what do you have at number 5?
Well, it's already been mentioned by both of you guys. Well, my number 5 is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga.
Nice.
We did a whole podcast on this back in, May, when it came out. It's really interesting that, it seems like the movie's not getting any awards buzz, despite the fact that Mad Max Fury Road won a bunch of awards.
Right.
So it's interesting that it sounds like Furiosa's not even getting pushed for the behind the camera awards.
That's very interesting. And I'll tell you, I really think it deserves it because cinematography, editing, set design, these are all fantastic in the movie.
Yeah, it's a very similar movie to Fury Road in the way that it looks. It's the same world that he's essentially doing a prequel film to with Furiosa. And I think we're all in agreement that it's not as good as Fury Road.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's a solid movie. Right. Yeah, and it's unfortunate because the big story that came out of Furiosa is that it kind of flopped at the box office. And you worry that, because he wants to make a third film in this series, right?
Yeah. Well, and again, when people say that it's a worse version of Fury Road, to me, when I look at the Mad Max movies, I look at pizza. No such thing as bad pizza. No such thing as a bad Mad Max movie. A worse version of Mad Max, which I think is a perfect movie. It's still a fantastic movie. It's so great. So yeah, I had a great time with the movie, and I thought Chris Hemsworth was fantastic in it. One of my favorite villains of the year.
But that's my number 5.
Good choice.
I guess we can go with Shane. What's your number 5?
So my number 5 of the year is a movie called The Seed of a Sacred Fig. So it's a movie from Iran, and so it's getting a little bit of flack because people are saying that it's a good movie, but the reason people are really talking about it is because the story behind the movie is more interesting than the movie. I disagree with that. I'll get into that in a little bit, but the backstory of the movie is that it centers around protests that were happening in Iran during 2021, where the police murdered this woman for not wearing a hijab, and there were massive protests, and the government there was censoring people and killing protesters. And so the director of the movie, who's been in jail before, made the movie through a production company in Germany and has real life protest footage of it. And he's currently has a warrant for his arrest in Iran, and he's currently in Germany fleeing the government. So he was this premiered at Cannes, and he again was under had an arrest warrant for him, and was holding up pictures of the actors who also weren't able to go to the festival because they couldn't leave the country. So again, the story behind that is crazy, but I still think the movie is phenomenal. The movie centers around a family. Their dad gets a promotion to become this judge, but he's the judge who signs the death warrants. So he's basically an executioner. So and while these protests are happening, while his daughters get more politically progressive and are looking at the protests, and they're looking at it on TikTok. So they're looking at TikTok, seeing the protests, while their mom is watching the government news, being yeah, the woman, she wasn't killed by police, she had a heart attack. And looking at it in the perspective of an American, I was thinking about the George Floyd protests and the reactions to that. And so it does feel very timely. And I don't want to say too much about the movie, but it takes some twists and turns and becomes this very engaging thriller. And the last 30 minutes of the movie are incredibly intense. And the heart of the movie is just this family. And all 4 actors, because it's 2 daughters, a mom, and the dad, they're giving great performances. it's not widely available to see, but I would definitely highly recommend the movie. My thought while watching it again, when I was thinking about like in relation to the George Floyd protests, I was thinking like, man, I just wish American films were like this politically charged in a way, because like it feels very human in a way that I haven't seen in a long time. So fantastic movie. I loved it.
Is that movie getting like best international film?
Yeah,
or anything like that?
It was on the short list. It's probably going to get nominated. We'll see. Because again, it's not even like through Iran. It's through Germany. It's their selection.
That's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, but it's a really good movie. And so I'm hoping once best international nominations come out, it'll get people talking about it.
Maybe get a wider release.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the times when Oscar nominations come out, there's theaters that'll be like, oh, we're showing all of the nominees.
Yeah, the Ritz is going to get it. The Philadelphia Film Society might get it. That'd be cool. Where did you see it, Shane?
So I saw it like I think it came out like in November in LA. I just saw it at an AMC.
What the hell?
No, because like our AMCs in LA just get indie movies.
Oh, wow.
Like we don't have that at the Fashion District Mall in Philadelphia.
No, they have Sonic 3 though.
That's why the Sixers are coming in, baby.
Yeah. That's true. We did this to ourselves.
Here come the Sixers. Let's go.
Yeah, but yeah, so I just saw it at like an AMC in Burbank. Because that's the advantage of LA.
That's cool. That's the one nice thing about Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Is it worth the cost of living in the traffic?
No. Nope.
Who's to say?
All right. At my number 5, I saw the TV Glow.
I do have that higher on my list.
Higher on your list. I assumed that.
Yeah.
Dylan, what do you have at number 4?
My number 4 is another horror movie that I really like this year. It's called In a Violent Nature.
Oh, yes.
In a Violent Nature is a slasher movie from the perspective of the slasher. It's like an over-the-shoulder, third-point perspective camera shot of this killer who has like a bag over his head, and you just see him like trudging through the forest and then slashing people. The movie is like very basic in general, though it's really cool to see this like different creative take on this this classic genre of film. Jason, we've covered a couple slasher films on the pod in the past, and we talk about how it's a franchise like niche that is basically only like a handful of franchises at this point. It's not a lot of like modern slashers to speak of that exist anymore.
Right.
And it's possible like this movie is like trying to set up a franchise. I know it made a decent amount of money compared. It had like no budget, so and like no like known actors. So the movie sets it up for a sequel, and I'm sure they're trying to push for the sequel for this if it hasn't been greenlit already. I really enjoyed it. It's really simple. It's really like insanely violent. The kills. Yeah. Have you seen it?
I've seen clips of it, and I have a friend who like was recommending to me. It's on my list.
Yeah, there are some kills in this movie that are like fucking nasty.
Nice.
Like they're really jarring when you watch them.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, so like you were saying about like how it's been a really good year for horror, but it's also been like especially on the indie side of things, like like the no budget. Like the Terrifier 3 is also one of the big wins of the year.
Yeah, we did a whole podcast on Terrifier back in October, and we talked about how the first Terrifier film is like almost not even a movie. It's like a special effects reel for this guy for like his like practical effects work. I did not see Terrifier 3. I heard it's very bloody. If you like the first 2 Terrifier films, you like the third one.
Yeah, I also made the choice to not see Terrifier 3.
But In a Violent Nature is on streaming in like a couple different places, so definitely check it out. And it's like relatively short. It's a perfect slasher movie. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, that's one that I've just seen starting to have the clips go viral recently. So it took a little while, but I think it's gaining traction again.
Yeah, you're gonna see TikToks of like, it's a slasher movie from the perspective of the slasher.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
It's really interesting how like horror is just one of those like steady genres that it just feels like it's like the recession-proof genre. Like no matter what, horror is gonna do well.
Yeah, people always want to get scared and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's like if you have $10 million, do you do one movie for $10 million, or do you give 10 small indie horror directors $1 million to go make something?
Yeah, and then there's a lot of audience members who are like, if I'm going to pay money to see a movie, I want to feel the most. So you want the adrenaline pumping when you're going.
Yeah, there's a great part at this is like slight spoilers at the end of this movie. The perspective switches to the final girl, and she's constantly like looking around in the forest. And because you spent this entire movie following the killer, you're just waiting for the killer to show up.
I just thought of like there's a movie coming out like in a couple of weeks by I think it's Steven Soderbergh, where it's like kind of a similar concept to this, where it's a haunted house movie, but essentially like it's from the perspective of like the ghosts. So like, and it's like a POV movie. So like you, the audience, are like the ghosts, like looking at like the people in the haunted house. Like, and I'm like, this looks so cool. So
it's the year of weird POVs.
Yeah.
There's also the Zemeckis film Here with Robin Wright and Tom Hanks.
And then there's also a movie that I haven't seen yet and may have been on my top 5 list. It's called Nickel Boys.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about Nickel Boys.
Yeah,
but
it's the same thing. Yeah, POV. But apparently, like, that is just a game changer movie. But I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
I think that one will get awards buzz and will get re-released. Yeah, so that one I think we will have the opportunity to see in theaters at some point, even if we live in Philadelphia.
Anyway, Shane, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Dune Part 2.
Dune Part 2.
I have that higher.
I have that higher as well.
All right, so we'll talk about it fun.
My number 4 is Trap, the M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, let's go, Trap Boys.
Trap.
M. Night, come on the pod, bro.
We talk about M. Night.
We know you
so
live
much
near here
on this podcast. Trap is awesome. I was editing our episode from last week, the top films of 1999, and I think I say something like, let's talk about M. Night's fall off as a director. And I just want to take the time in this episode to completely walk that back.
I just want to deeply apologize to Mr. Shyamalan.
I had a lot of time to think it over. I think Trap is awesome. I think it's so funny and campy. The premise, if you haven't seen it, is that a guy goes to a concert with his daughter, but the whole concert is a trap. They're trying to catch a local serial killer named The Butcher. And the protagonist that we are following is The Butcher. And he falls for this trap. He goes to the concert where they're trying to trap him. And over the course of the movie, you get more details about how they knew The Butcher was going to go to this concert. It's like a pop idol concert that his daughter's really into. But the main thing is that this guy, he's surrounded by the police. There's this FBI profiler that's really good at setting up traps. And this guy keeps escaping the traps.
There's so many traps.
There's so many. There's a whole deleted scene of more traps. Have you seen it?
No. There's more. My review of it was that I could have seen another hour of the movie. Spoiler alert, the ending of the movie ends with them getting out of another trap. And I wanted the movie to keep going.
It's so good, but it's campy, it's funny, it's cool, it's tense, it gets a little scary. I mean, the guy's a serial killer, but you feel more tension coming from how's he gonna get out of this one? Do I want him to get out of this one? I kind of do.
It's another one of those unique POV movies where
I was thinking of that too.
It's the bad guy that you're following the entire movie.
Yeah, and he's great. He is doing a fantastic performance.
He's going crazy.
He's him and M. Night are just on the same page. It's one of those they're both in on it. They're having fun, but also some serious moments too. There are just some crazy moments that Jack Harden has to do, and Josh Harden's doing, and he's fantastic.
Yeah, so Trap, I think, is probably what I consider the most underrated of the year. This thing is a pretty divisive film. I think it has a 2.5 on Letterboxd. There's a lot of people.
That's what I gave it. My main issue with it is that the whole movie should have been the concert.
I disagree. We need to see him escaping more traps, and you can't do that just at the concert.
Well, this movie also sets up a sequel, potentially.
Because he's escaping a trap.
So is it just going to be Trap 2?
And then he fights
the trappening.
I was gonna say then he's gonna fight Split Guy.
That's right. M. Night should do that. He should do the thing
cinematic universe of just his own movies.
Exactly. Cinematic universe.
It's like the Pixar theory that all Pixar films take place in the same world.
Well, all M. Night Shyamalan movies do take place in the same world, Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's the universe of Philadelphia.
Yeah, and we've pointed this out on the podcast. Actually, maybe we haven't, but the movie Trap takes place in an arena that's on 12th and Market or something. There's no arena there right now. It's our mall. There have been discussions, actually approvals, to tear down that mall and half of Chinatown to put up a new Sixer stadium. This implies that Trap takes place in the future after that stadium has already been built.
Right. It is Sixers propaganda.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie ends with the shirt seller guy like wearing a Sixers like jersey. So like again, like it's there. M Night's
he's a Sixers season ticket holder. He's like on the side. If you watch a Sixers game, you'll see him just like sitting there in the front row on the sideline.
That's our boy, dude. We should get him on the pod.
Yeah. If we ever get to big enough as a pod to where we do a live podcast, he's like number one on my list of Philly guys to get.
Also, I gotta say real quick, Trap best cameo of the year, Kid Cudi. Playing Tyler the Creator.
That was so funny.
Oh. Yeah. Shout out to Lady Raven, who's played by M. Night's daughter.
That's the best nepotism I've seen this year.
She's been getting clowned on Twitter a little bit with like the clips of her acting.
People don't like her performance. I thought she's great.
Did good. Yeah.
She's doing M. Night acting. She's doing exactly the acting that he wants to get out of the actress.
I think so too. Like, you can call it wooden, but like she's just doing this very reserved performance. And then when she goes into like crying, asking for help mode, she really sells it. I think she's great.
Yeah. And I predicted the pop girly summer, really. So
he did. Yeah, Lady Raven is right up there with Charlie XCX,
Sabrina Carpenter,
Chappell Roan, Sabrina Carpenter. Lady Raven's on the marquee. All right, so that's my number 4. Dylan, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Nosferatu.
Ooh. Oh, nice.
Is Nosferatu not on either of your lists?
It was on my honorable mentions. I had it at number 6, actually.
I haven't gotten the chance to see it yet. I'm visiting from Los Angeles for the holidays, and
you're from Los Angeles.
Oh my God.
You've changed.
Yeah, I've gone so LA, guys. You don't even know. No, but I'm visiting the holidays with my girlfriend, and then like we had the option to see Nosferatu or Sonic 3, and then my girlfriend's like, I don't want to see your fancy vampire movie. Like, I'm on vacation.
That's fair, and I'm glad she picked Sonic 3.
Nosferatu is a way better date night movie with your significant other.
Ooh, okay.
Jason, I didn't get the opportunity to be on our Nosferatu pod. I am not an employee of Universal Comcast, so I didn't get the early screening.
That's your loss.
I'm sorry. So this is my Nosferatu review here. It's pretty good. Robert Eggers, he's done it again. Even though I like some of his other movies more than this one, Nosferatu, it kind of drags a little bit. And I thought we were getting to the end of the movie and we were getting to the start of the third act, which is like something I hate about like movies that drag. But holy shit, the atmosphere of this movie.
Yeah.
Pop off, King. This is like crazy shit that he's doing, recreating, was it like 1830s Germany?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not just like a super tense atmospheric movie in terms of being a stylized horror film. The period piece element of it is so well done, right? Like the same way people talk about the Pride and Prejudice movie or whatever. Like this is doing the same thing, and it's so good.
And this is like Robert Eggers is a psychopath when it comes to period piece like specificity of like what he has to work with. Like for The Witch, like they really went out of their way to try to match early American dialects with the way that they were speaking, the different actors. And it's cool that he's able to like build out these casts of actors that he can rely on to be like perfect in his period pieces. Like he's got Ralph Ineson coming back in this again, who he's the dad in The Witch. And then he pops up again in this one as the doctor. And he's got Willem Dafoe coming back from, he's in The Northman, he's in The Lighthouse. Now he's in this, and like Willem Dafoe's just this guy. Somebody was joking on Twitter. I saw that Willem Dafoe's just getting
like his muse. Yeah,
he's like a ping pong ball going back and forth between Robert Eggers and Yorgos Lanthimos. Like they're just holding him hostage. Willem Dafoe's gonna be working forever.
Well, I gotta say, also Willem Dafoe, one of the big winners of the year. Beetlejuice, Nosferatu, Saturday Night.
Oh, I didn't know he was in Saturday Night.
Yeah, he plays like the NBC villain. Like he plays the man.
God. That's funny.
But like no, Robert Eggers is he's so committed to like set design, costume design. Really does like the research, and he really does have an eye for talent because he kind of discovered Anya Taylor-Joy with The Witch. So like he really does have like an eye for talent, knows how to cast people. Because I haven't seen the movie yet, but I know Lily Rose Depp, from what I've heard, is like fantastic in it.
Very surprising.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like before this movie, the jury was still out on Lily Rose Depp and her ability to be an actor versus being a nepo baby. And I think this movie really proved that she has the chops. Yeah. And obviously working with Robert Eggers, he was a good director for her. And yeah, this I think has put her on the map in a way that goes beyond her last name.
Yeah, and it's not like we haven't seen vampire movies before, so it's cool to see this guy take on an attempt at like a classic vampire film. If you compare this to the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula movie, that feels more of like a modern attempt at telling a vampire story. and then this is like Nosferatu is like it's dark, it's creepy, it's like super sexual and like uncomfortable.
Yeah, you should check out our episode that we did about this, because my friend Max and I talk about the themes and the sexual elements of this film a little bit more. There's like a lot to discuss about it as a film, what it's trying to say. It's all really cool.
Yeah, and I'm curious like how much awards buzz this is going to get, because I think it's like it's worthy of it. However, I worry a little bit that Eggers might fall into like he might become like the next like Christopher Nolan a little bit, where like Nolan took a while for his films to like really get recognized for like how good they were.
I think it's just like they're both genre people.
Exactly.
Like since they work in like genres, like the Academy's just not really going to recognize them until like there's like this big buzz. Like I do agree. I think Roger Eggers is in like 10 years, we're all going to look back and be like, yo, man, that guy was like the GOAT. Like, why is he not nominated?
And I was reading, I think it's not, he's doing Labyrinth is his next movie.
Yeah, I heard that too.
That'll be interesting.
Who do you think is going to be like the David Bowie Goblin King?
John Cena.
Yeah. Well, I don't like that fan casting. There's got to be someone else.
No.
They'll probably pick a woman that has like butch features or something.
What about Lady Gaga?
Right. They'll probably do someone who's adjacent to the LGBT community, but go for
gender swap
a lady this time, I think. I mean, that's just, that's probably how I would play it. So Lady Gaga would be like a great choice. Mm-hmm. But I feel like she's a safe choice at this point.
It's going to be weird, because like Labyrinth is a kid's movie, even though it's too sexual.
I think he just won't make it a kid's movie. Right?
Exactly. That's the thing. He's going to make an adult version of it.
Yeah.
It's like with have you seen The Northman?
I haven't seen any other Robert Eggers movie.
No.
Oh, Northman.
The Northman is it's like Icelandic Hamlet.
Yeah. That's also like his first non-horror movie too.
Yeah, it's insanely violent. And in that one, he's got Alexander Skarsgård is like an insanely ripped dude, and then he comes back around, and Bill Skarsgård plays Nosferatu.
I think interviewers have been asking him about that, and he's just like, I don't know, I just like the Skarsgård brothers. They're my friends.
I'm assuming he saw Bill Skarsgård play Pennywise the Clown, and he was like, oh, cool, he can be a horror guy.
Yeah, I mean, that guy's been several like horror. He's a horror guy.
Because he's also in, what was it, The Barbarian?
Yeah. What's the male version of a Scream Queen?
Scream King? I don't know.
Well,
I know people are saying that Nicholas Hoult has very good Scream King energy. That like Nosferatu doesn't really hit unless Nicholas Hoult like really comes off as like terrified when he's in the castle with the vampire.
Yeah, and he does. Yeah, that's so
he looks like freaked the fuck out.
I mean, like he's an amazing actor, and he's going to be a great Lex Luthor.
I think we're on Shane's number 3.
Yep.
Number 3? Okay. My number 3 is Nora.
I didn't see that.
Okay, so
I haven't seen it either. I know of it, obviously.
Yeah, my 3 movies that I know I should have watched before this were The Substance, Anora, and Conclave. Those were the 3 that I missed.
I also really, really wanted to see The Brutalist. I can't fucking find it anywhere.
Well, so it's literally only playing. It's in like 4 theaters right now. 2 of them are in Los Angeles and 2 of them are in New York. I'm like, that is it.
So annoying.
Which might be talking about The Brutalist soon here. So a little spoiler, but Anora, like it's a fantastic movie. What people have been saying that it feels like the culmination of a lot of Sean Baker's like previous work. Like this is what he's really been building up to. Mikey Madison, like I think gives the best performance of the year as like this sex worker. I love movies that can bend genre, because like the first like third of the movie is like a rom-com, and then like the second act happens and it's like a screwball comedy with like these 4 characters, and then like the finale just becomes like this very somber and like sobering look at like class, and like how just kind of the rich will like abuse and treat, you know, the working class or people they see, you know, beneath them, and just kind of how people like, you know, below that in poverty, like, you know, can come together and find each other. So I think it's a beautiful movie. Definitely gonna get a lot of awards buzz. I think it's gonna win Best Picture. Just calling it right now. And shot beautifully, very funny, and just great movie all around.
Yeah, I wish we could talk about it more, but
it's on my list of movies. So I think it is on like Netflix right now. It's on one of the streamers,
maybe Prime. I don't know.
The only thing I was hesitant about with that movie is that it seems like a movie about a bunch of shitty people, which I always feel hesitant when there's no like one character you can root for.
There is one. His name is Igor. You will see when you watch it.
Shout out to Igor because I've seen clips of the titular Nora, and she sounds like she sucks.
Again, I don't want to say too much, but like you do see her growth as a character, and I'd say in a way like it feels very honest and human. It doesn't pull any punches with who this character is or who these characters are in general. They all feel like real people, very flawed, and it doesn't like water down like any of them. Like it feels very honest and human, and which is why like I think people really connect to Sean Baker's movies. At least that's why I connect to them. And you know, again, I just absolutely adored the movie.
That was a Palme d'Or winner, right?
Yes.
I think it won.
Yeah, no, yeah, it won the Palme d'Or.
It's impressive.
Mm-hmm. Jason, what's your number 3?
I have Dune, Part 2.
It's higher on my list.
Interesting. What's your number 2, Dylan?
My number 2, boy, I hope I'd fucking love one of you two. I don't think you've seen this movie. It's a movie called The Wild Robot.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
The Wild Robot is fucking awesome, okay? In a movie year where a lot of the highest grossing films of the year, as you mentioned, are animated films, the best animated film that came out this year is Wild Robot. I'm very sorry to Transformers 1 fans out there. Yeah, they'll disagree with that statement. Yeah. But The Wild Robot, have you seen it, Shane?
I did. I really liked it.
It's basically a Pixar movie. It's made by DreamWorks.
Mm-hmm. Shout out DreamWorks.
But it's about this robot that is being shipped to some location, and instead it crashes into a forest area, and it has to reboot itself, and it encounters a bunch of woodland critters, and it downloads software to communicate with them. And through some hijinks that ensue with the robot, it accidentally like kills it's a mother goose and a bunch of eggs. And there's one egg that's left over, and she feels the need to like raise the egg. And it was like the runt of the litter, basically. Yeah. And with the help of a fox, who's played by Pedro Pascal, they like raise this goose. And it's like the adventures of this robot learning how to, live amongst all of these woodland animals and raise her goose child. And it's just great. It reminds me of like a classic Pixar movie. It's like what I wish recent Pixar stuff should be instead of all the sequels and stuff that we've been getting from them lately.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, it's the director of Lilo and Stitch, which I think is like one of the best Disney movies of all time.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think he also did I don't know if he did all of the How to Train Your Dragon movies, but he at least did the first one. So he's a great director, and like The Wild Robot. Yeah, I really like the movie. And so the main actress it's
Lupita Nyong'o.
Lupita Nyong'o. She plays the character so well because I feel like it's hard to play robot. But she finds the balance of being like having a personality and like the growth of her warming up, but still feeling robotic.
Yeah, because the whole thing of her is that she's learning like how to socialize. Basically, she's constantly like learning with her programming. It's a really cool design for a robot. It's similar to like Eve from WALL-E. Like she's really high tech.
Yeah.
And I just thought the movie was incredibly charming. I went to see it with my younger sister, and she liked it a lot. It's a movie that got big time like critical buzz.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't be surprised if this does win Best Animated, because it did make a lot of money too. It didn't make absurd money like Inside Out 2 did,
but it made more than Transformers 1.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, Transformers 1 made so little money that Paramount is just not making movies anymore.
Yeah, Hasbro shut down its
Hasbro,
movie.
Yeah.
And I think Paramount did say no more Transformers for now.
Yeah.
Or RIP.
RIP Transformers, RIP Power Rangers.
Yeah. But yeah, but the animation in the movie is just fantastic. Like how like the colors work with, and also like the first like 20 minutes of the movie is kind of like WALL-E, where it's like almost silent. And it was getting
because she hasn't downloaded the software yet to talk to the animals,
right?
And you makes you wonder. I guess for anybody listening to this now, but like it makes you wonder, like, is there not going to be like any speaking in this movie?
Yeah.
So I remember before I watched it, I looked at the voice cast, and it's a stacked voice cast, and I was like, "There's no talking yet. This is crazy." It's just like the animals are making animal noises.
But yeah, no, it was very bold with that. Like it really felt like a Studio Ghibli movie for like the first 20 minutes.
I've heard that as well. Yeah.
Because like the robot design is obviously like inspired by like the robots in Castle in the Sky. So like again, there was a lot of Ghibli influence, but like Yeah, no, fantastic movie. I really liked it.
How would you put this robot in your Mount Rushmore of movie robots list?
Do I put it above Iron Giant, which we watched last week?
You've got Iron Giant. If we're just talking cartoons, Iron Giant, WALL-E, this one, other ones. But if we're talking all movie robots, that includes R2-D2 and C-3PO, the Terminator.
Yeah, it's tricky. I don't think she's cracking the Mount Rushmore.
But probably animated.
Okay. For animated, I think she's in the top 10.
What about Tars from Interstellar? Where did we put him?
Yeah,
I didn't rewatch that. I mean, I saw that in 2014 when it came out.
I've seen all the videos of the people that are seeing it in what, like 35 millimeters.
This movie's having a real renaissance. Yeah, like I knew people liked it when it came out, but people really like it now.
No, well, I don't think about this year. This was kind of the year of the re-release. A lot of movies got re-released and kind of reevaluated. And Interstellar was one of them. I was on one of them because I didn't really like it the first time it came out, and then I saw it like in IMAX 70 millimeter. I was like,
I see it now.
No, I was so stupid. I was like college, like I was a freshman film student. I thought it was edgy. No, this movie's great. Like I was crying.
Yeah, shout out Interstellar. What number was that? That was your number 2?
That's my number 2. So we're at Shane's number 2.
Shane, your number 2.
Okay, my number 2 is I Saw the TV Glow.
That's my number 5.
I've not seen this movie, so you guys can talk about it.
Cool.
I Saw the TV Glow. It came out I think it was like March, and it kind of became my benchmark of whenever I see a movie, I'd always go did this movie affect me the same way that I Saw the TV Glow affected me? Because this movie ripped my soul out, and it feels like that's kind of the reaction I've seen from a lot of people. I was talking to a friend who loves horror movies and will watch some of the most messed up things, he was telling me about Terrifier 3. And then he was like, yeah, Terrifier 3 was great. I was like, I Saw the TV Glow. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't get halfway through. He was like, I could have, that was a lot. Because it really seeps down into you. And I think for a certain type of person, it really I think captures something in the zeitgeist of our generation. And also to a lot of queer people and a lot of autistic people. They're really, speaking to that experience. And I really connected with it. No, it's an incredible movie.
Yeah, it's very good. It's about a kid who has no friends and he makes one friend and they connect through this TV show that they watch together. What was it called?
The Pink Opaque.
The Pink Opaque, which is kind of a little bit like Are You Afraid of the Dark, the old Nickelodeon show. It's kind of a Buffy. Yeah. But it's just this thing that they become obsessed with. And it's really the one thing that connects them. And then things just go downhill from there. I don't really want to say too much about it. And it's also hard to describe. It is not what I thought the movie was going to be. The movie kind of calls into question their reality and whether the events of the Pink Opaque are actually real or not. And these two are trying to figure out life together at first. And then life drives them apart. And then they reunite again, and it's this whole thing. It's directed by a trans woman. It's very much a trans allegory. Everyone kind of agrees on that. But I think there's really something for everyone.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Again, I really connected with the themes and the message, and just also the two actors in it were phenomenal, and also Fred Durst,
Fred Durst
who plays the dad, because it's a movie that kind of, because the director of it, I know that they were a 90s kid and grew up watching CW shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, WB as it was in the 90s.
So true.
And I think it's again, I don't want to say too much about the movie for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, because again, it's such a hard movie. It's really a movie you just have to experience, but a lot of the movie is kind of about nostalgia and also kind of looking back in a way and feeling your life is going faster than you expected, and looking back at childhood and the things that you were obsessed with as a kid and feeling that was more real than real life in a way. So yeah, I really connected with the movie, and it just feels very unique. It's one of those movies that I think kids watching it now, I think it's going to be the big influence. When people who are in film school now or in high school now getting into movies, I think in 10, 20 years, they're going to be yeah, no, this was the movie that really inspired me. So again, when I'm talking about in 2024, the movies that are going to be standing the test of time, and we look back at and be this was one of the greats, I think this is going to be one of those movies.
I think so too. I think walking out of that theater, I was thinking about so much stuff, and there's no other movie on my list
Yeah.
Even my numbers 1 and 2, where I like think about it in the way that I think about I Saw the TV Glow.
And one of the other things that I do just want to also say about the movies, I loved the use of like mixed media. A lot of the movies like takes place in the 90s and also in the present. So like the way that it's shot, it will look different in the 90s, and then it does like in the 2000s, where like in the in the present day things look very clean, digital. But then like the 90s, it kind of has like a grind to it. Like, and then it'll also cut to the TV show, and it really does feel like an old, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like, with like the cheesy special effects and kind of that uncanny valley nature of those shows in a way that I just haven't really seen. Like, it felt very authentic, and I'm so excited to see what the director does next, because this is their second film. Their first one was We're All Going to the World's Fair, which is like a horror movie that was like kind of based on creepypasta,
which is what I thought this movie was going to be.
Yeah, so I really hope that a studio is just like, here's $50 million, go nuts, because I really like their work a lot.
I think that'd be cool. I'd be excited for that too. Cool. All right, my number 2, I don't think either of you have this on your list. I have Wicked, the adaptation of the Broadway musical, adaptation of the novel, prequel to Wizard of Oz. Yeah, Wicked. It's about Elphaba and Glinda defying gravity. I don't know what else to say about it.
Space, bro.
This movie, I saw this in 4DX with some of my friends. The thing about 4DX, you hear about it. You're like, oh, I don't want to go see a 4DX movie. I don't want to pay $30 to just have the seats move around and maybe get sprayed in the face with water. That's not what it is. 4DX is the next step in the movie-going experience. You know how if you're an A-list holder, going to the movies is just like an everyday thing at this point. It's just a thing you do.
Yeah.
If you want movies to be an event again, if you want movies to be special, you get your friends together, you drive to the King of Prussia Mall, and you go see a 4DX film. You
could have seen it in IMAX. Like, you go to King of Prussia.
I don't want to see it in IMAX. I want the chairs to move. The chairs move to the choreography of Dancing Through Life. So when they're stomping their feet to the left and right, the chairs are doing that too. You're right in the middle of that musical number. It's incredible. You defy gravity with those witches. It's amazing. Oh my gosh, dude. And they did the whole shebang this time. When I saw Twisters, they didn't have the lightning effects up. They didn't have the fog effects up. This time we got lightning, fog, bubbles, snow, everything. And the whole time the chairs are just throwing you all over the place. Everyone's laughing and having a great time. It's great. And that's why Wicked is my number 2.
Couldn't agree more.
I love the fact that like every other movie podcast is like, 35 millimeter, IMAX 70 millimeter coming back. And then Jason comes in here. No, man, you don't understand. 40X, that's where it's at.
Yeah, we make it pretty like clear on the pod here that we are not like hoity-toity film bros.
I think
just to think that like we know more about movies than other people. We're very open about that. We're just like guys that have a movie podcast.
Movies. Yeah,
we don't know anything.
I mean, I will say I haven't seen Wicked 40X. I did see Twisters 40X, and oh my god, that was
good time.
No, that was an experience. That was amazing.
That's what I'm saying.
Glenn Powell. Oh my god.
Again, the Palisades.
Twisters 40X is great because Glenn Powell just drives into the Twisters. So when that happens and you're in a 40X theater, it goes nuts.
I gotta say that like when I saw it in 40X, it did do the lightning and all the rain. So like, I don't know what was going on with yours.
I'm gonna complain.
LA's got the cool 40X.
No, we have it. They just didn't turn it on. They got
the 5DX.
We have those features.
No, actually, in LA, it might have just been like an actual earthquake.
You can never really tell.
It's a real immersive experience. Anyway, my number 1 is Twisters. No.
I think I know what your number 1 is. So we both had it on our list, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about Dune. Dune Part 2 was my number 1 most anticipated movie of 2025. They said Denis Villeneuve couldn't do it, but he did do it.
Did he do it?
Dune Part 2 is an achievement. I can't really like understate this, that I think that once Dune Messiah comes out, these films are going to be on the same level as the Lord of the Rings films.
Yeah.
I could see that.
They are the Lord of the Rings of the 2020s here. This is like our classic science fiction fantasy films. This is the trilogy right here. And Dune Part 2 does not disappoint in any way. The back half of the Dune book is it's a little shaky on like things that happen in that part of the book. It's a lot of things happening inside of characters' heads, and it's not something that you would imagine very easily adapted to film, and he just makes it seem easy. It's so good. From the very first sequence of the film, when you see those Harkonnen soldiers start floating
that was awesome.
Up that sand like cliffside, and you go, this man is working on a whole different fucking level right now.
No, 100%. Like I saw it like in IMAX. I saw it 3 times, like in IMAX, and with that whole sequence, when you just see them float up, I'm just like,
because it hits you with like the whoa.
Like it's so creative and so just like it cuts to like the shots of them floating up, and then it's like that massive wide shot of them, and then you just see like the lights, like the like I'm just like, oh my god, like. Just the sound design, cinematography, color correction, just everything is coming together. Like, it's so immersive and so incredible.
And Villeneuve's doing something that, you know, a lot of filmmakers are doing, but he's really harnessing the power of this next generation of star actors.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, we're going to hear about Timothée Chalamet in the awards nominations for another movie.
Yeah.
And Zendaya, you're probably hearing more about her performance in Challengers this year than Dune, but like in like Austin Butler, Florence Pugh, like he's just taking these actors and getting everything out of them. And like Anya Taylor-Joy is going to be in the third one.
Right. It's like a once in a generation cast, you know, like Anya Taylor-Joy, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, like Austin Butler.
Like Timothée Chalamet's going fucking off in this movie. He's going full Lisa Al-Gaib.
Yeah. No, like you get caught up in like that speech he gives. Yeah, you're just like, let's go take out some Harkonnens.
He gets you hype, right? Yeah. You're like, it's fucking jihad time. And like you think you know what the movie. A lot of this movie takes place in the desert, and you kind of get used to that really warm, color tone, and then you get that gladiator sequence.
That part
that's all in black and white.
So sick.
And you go, this is awesome. This is so freaking cool.
And again, it's like that bold filmmaking where it's like that's just like almost like 30 minutes. We're focusing on like a character we've never seen before.
Yeah, we don't see Fade until like an hour and a half into this movie.
And it just follows him for like 30 minutes. Like, you know, doesn't get back to like the protagonist, doesn't get back to, you know, Timothy. And just like you sit there and it's like, and again, a really bold filmmaking where like I don't think that any other movie to that scale, like, you know, would just do that, where it's like we're just gonna spend 30 minutes on the villain and not cut back to the protagonist. Like, again, that's why I find what I love so much about the Dune movies is like it really just is what filmmaking should be. Like it's a director getting the best, you know, cinematographer, like the best composer, the best actors working, the best special effects, and it just comes together. Like this is what like the standard should be for blockbusters.
Yeah, and he nails it.
Yeah.
This is as good as you could possibly make a Dune adaptation. It is the modern version of the Lord of the Rings films where people said, you can't make this into a movie. It's too incoherent of a book to adapt into films. And Villeneuve is like, you know, hold my beer. Yeah. Let's do this.
Again, like you said, like he just makes it look easy. Like,
I'm excited to watch it, like do a back-to-back with the first one, because it feels like it's going to slide together really seamlessly. You know, I think what a lot of people say about these movies is that the first one's all the setup, the second one is like all the action, and I think that's true, and it makes it awesome. Like it's a lot more fighting than the first one, but still, I think it tells even more story than the first one. Like it covers a longer period of time, sets up something really cool for the third one that I don't think we mentioned this, but like it diverges pretty heavily from the novel. So we're still going to get, you know, Dune Messiah, but it's going to be different than...
Yeah, they're clearly going in a separate direction than what Dune Messiah ended up being. Dune Messiah as a book is not nearly as action-packed as the back half of the first Dune book. So it's not Return of the King. It's not the culmination. Really, this movie that came out this year is the culmination. This is like the big fight. And then Dune Messiah is much more of like a character study of Paul and how he is like not actually the Messiah character that he is set up to be.
Well, that's what I'm so curious about. And well, so the reason that Frank Herbert made Dune Messiah was like he saw that people read the first book and were on Paul's side at the end, and so he had to be like, No. I got to make it clear for you guys. Paul is not the hero. And so it really goes into, I guess it's like the fall of Paul Atreides.
Right.
And again, it's not like fantastical or heroic. Like, again, it's very high concept sci-fi stuff in Dune Messiah, but it is like a lot of intrigue and a lot of like slow burn character study. So I'm very curious how they're going to adapt it, but I have, again, 100% faith.
Yeah, and we should see more Florence Pugh in the next one. Mm-hmm. We're going to see Anya Taylor-Joy as Aaliyah, Paul's sister, and then whatever they're doing with Zendaya as Chani, who is a character that kind of takes a back seat a little bit in the Dune Messiah book. Clearly, they're not going to do that in the movie.
Oh, no.
So I'm really excited to see the third one. I think this movie's awesome. It's probably going to get nominated for Best Picture. Hopefully, it wins a bunch of early awards at the Oscars. It sounds like it's not getting like acting buzz or anything like that, which I think is wrong. But
yeah, but I think you also said earlier all of these actors that would deserve that buzz are getting that buzz.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that a lot of them were just in multiple movies this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like Austin Butler got it last year for Elvis. Timmy is getting it for
Complete Unknown,
and Zendaya, like we already knew, was fantastic. Anya Taylor-Joy, we already knew was fantastic. Like again, like it's crazy. This does feel like we're seeing the new generation of movie stars, like with Anora, like Mikey Madison. It's exciting. Like what I was saying is like at the beginning of the pod is that like 2024. I know it was a weird year, but it does feel like the transition year, and we're seeing what filmmaking is going to be like in the next, I'd say 5 to 10 years. So
yeah, Dune Messiah, can't wait. Shane, what's your number one?
Number one of the year is The Brutalist, which I know you guys can't talk about.
It's fucking salt in the wound.
Well, Shane almost didn't see it. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's a movie about an architect. This is like right up my alley.
So I gotta tell my Brutalist story of how I got to see it. So it came out in Los Angeles the day before I had to fly out to Philadelphia for the holidays. So I immediately was like, I need to see it today because I don't know if I'm ever gonna get the chance to see it when I get back. So this is my chance because I also wanted to see it in like the 70 millimeter VistaVision. And it was playing in a movie theater in LA called the Vista Theater, which is one of the 2 theaters that Quentin Tarantino owns. I got the tickets 5 minutes before it sold out. I was so excited, riding high. And then like a couple weeks later, I go to the theater to see it. I'm like, all right, let's go. And movie's playing, loving it. And then like an hour and 30 minutes into the movie, the reel just stops. The movie just stops. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. I guess like the projector just shut off. All right. I'll go, the bathroom while they're fixing it. Go up to the bathroom. The whole theater's dark. Like the concessions are out. And I'm like, what is happening?
Oh, they lost power.
So the whole block lost power. And I'm like, oh no. Is this it? Am I not going to be
an omen?
Yeah. And so I get back to my seat. The manager comes out and she's like, I'm so sorry, everybody. The power's out. We're on the phone with the power company right now. We'll give out the free tickets, for you guys to go see it again. But I'm like, I can't go see it again. This is it. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to wait it out. 30 minutes goes by. Cause again, she was like, if you want to wait, you want to wait. That's totally fine. I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen. She comes back out again and she's like, guys, again, I'm so sorry. We're still on the phone with them. They're saying that it's not going to come up until 1 a.m. Big sigh. Everyone's like, oh no. And then she's like, again, we'll give you out the passes. And I'm so sorry. Lights come back on. And it is like Avengers Endgame. Everyone is cheering.
How many, what percentage of the theater stayed?
So the people behind me, literally opened up the AMC app to book tickets to go see it in the Century City AMC, which is 30 minutes from the Vista.
Wow.
They packed up and left, but I'd say about 20% of the theater left. But again, it's I thought about it, do I go and risk it to go to the AMC? But it was a 10 o'clock showing and it's a 3.5 hour movie
with an intermission in the middle of it.
With an intermission, so it's almost 4 hours. And I'm like, oh my God, my girlfriend will kill me. Because we have to fly out tomorrow if I don't come back at 2 a.m. So again, I was like, I'll thug it out. Also, it was a digital, wasn't in the 70 millimeter. So I was like,
right.
This is my chance. So yeah, I got to see it, but it was funny because when I started playing up again, there was only like 20 minutes left of the first act. So we just we watched the rest of it, and then the intermission happens, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm gonna go pee again.
That's funny.
But yeah, so that was my Brutalist story. The movie overall is just it's phenomenal. It really feels like they don't make them like they used to. Similar to Oppenheimer, feels like kind of a throwback to the old classic Hollywood epics, like Lawrence of Arabia, like Giant, and with the large cast. And it's such a hard movie to describe for those who don't really know. It's about a Polish Jewish architect who escapes the Holocaust to America, and from there he gets discovered by this American tycoon type and gets commissioned to build something in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Also it's kind of a Philly movie too, just like M. Night.
All right, let's go.
Yeah,
I'm in.
So it's about the American dream, and so and it's a rise and fall movie, and this guy trying to find the American dream, and that getting kind of corrupted, and again it's to me, again, it's just hard to really describe if you haven't seen it. And also, I don't really want to see it too much because, I think it's a movie to best kind of go in with not a lot of expectations. But, I think it's a movie that, once it hits a wide release, hopefully soon, it's going to get discussed. And it's a movie that really does need discussion. But Adrien Brody, I think, behind Mikey Madison, is, the best performance of the year. He's just phenomenal in the movie, just heartbreakingly so. And then also in the supporting actor, Guy Pearce, who plays the tycoon, gives a very ominous villain performance where it's he's kind of like a Howard Hughes type character where he's just like all American businessman, but has this underlying darkness to him and plays it so well. Felicity Jones is also in the movie. He plays Adrien Brody's wife. She also is fantastic. Kind of carries, I'd say, the second to last scene in the movie. And I'd say the final scene of the movie might end up being divisive, but I think it really just ties the whole movie together. And again, I can't really say, but I think it's the best ending of the year. So The Brutalist, fantastic movie. Check it out if you can. I think it's gonna go wide in January, so hopefully Philly's gonna get it.
Yeah, it's clearly doing the release in LA, in New York, in as little theaters as possible, so we can get Oscar considerations.
Right, but it's I was looking at some of the showtimes, and it's selling out.
Yeah,
it's becoming.
No, the buzz is crazy about it, and the movie is kind of getting the buzz and the reception that I'm assuming Coppola was going for with Megalopolis.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Megalopolis,
Also
which
about
the three of us did a pod on.
Yeah.
It's not on any of our lists. We've yet to mention it in this podcast. But another epic story about an architect, man with a vision, going through some problems.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get any awards buzz, but this Brutalist film, which I had not heard of, until a few months ago when I saw it on all of the awards contender lists. It's getting a huge buzz as like you said, Oppenheimer, a film that could potentially be one of the next big epic masterpiece films that we look at.
Right. And again, I think similar to architecture, you look at building and architecture where the opening day of the building is not the most important day of the building. It's every day of the building. It's meant to last. And it's meant to really stand the test of time. And that's what I really feel The Brutalist is going to be. I really think it's going to be one of those movies that we look back at 10, 15, even 20 years and just point to, and we're just that was it. That was the movie of the 2024. Again, and I think in the same way I was saying I saw the TV Glow, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are young right now and watching it and are going to be this is the reason I want to make movies. Also fantastic in a way where it feels, I'm talking about the old school Hollywood, but it feels so fresh. It has a lot of modern techniques. So it's not just a throwback. It feels fresh and feels very bold and very personal in a way. Brutal architecture is about just keeping the concrete there.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet. Is he a brutalist architect? Do you know what brutalism is?
So they never really, they just bring it up as modern. because I think in a way that because the movie takes place in the 50s, so I don't think brutalist architecture really took off yet.
Yeah, it's not the same thing, but it's okay.
No, that's they just refer to it as like modern, and I think without saying too much by the end of the movie,
close enough. You can make it work for a movie.
Yeah.
I really wanted to see it for the pod. It's not possible because we're not cool. We don't live in LA.
You want to take like the Jersey Transit SEPTA up to New York?
We'll take an Amtrak.
Not possible.
Jason, what's your number one?
Mine's Challengers.
Yeah.
Challengers is dope. Did you see it, Dylan?
No.
Oh, Challengers is so good, guys.
Let's talk about threesomes, baby.
Yeah, listen. The thing Shane just talked about sounded really serious and like somber and stuff. This movie is crazy. This movie is about tennis and sex, and that's it. And it's so good. It's two best friends / tennis rivals fall in love with the same girl, and they all ruin each other's lives from there. It's happened to the best of us. Dylan mentioned threesomes. I think that's one of the things that gets brought up the most in this movie is that
it was the marketing point of the film.
There's this love triangle, and then like the two boys who are both in love with Zendaya, they also make out, but all they do is make out. There's no
it's kind of weak, honestly.
It is like false advertising. The way people talk about this movie and the way it was marketed, like it was very much like this is the modern Y Tu Mama Tambien. That's not really what it is.
No.
If anything, the tennis is at the forefront of the movie.
No, well, yeah, like it's a sexual movie, but there's not really sex in the movie. The tennis is the sex.
The tennis is the sex, and they're always playing tennis because they all like tennis more than sex, except the one guy, and that's why he gets cucked in sex and tennis. Anyway, it's really, really good. It jumps around the timeline a lot. It starts off when they're both, or all three of them are young. They're like all going off to college. And they're like, oh, I wonder if we'll still be friends. We're going to play on the circuit together. But then this relationship thing blows up between the three of them. She ends up marrying one of them. That guy goes on to be like an all-star tennis player who has won a couple of opens, but not all of them. And he wants to like have his one last big thing that tennis players have. You should go into this movie not knowing anything about tennis like I did. It makes the movie so much better because they'll be talking about stuff and you'll be like, all right, I'll just go with it. And you are flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah, considering that you just said he won a few opens instead of he won a few Grand Slams, which is what they are.
No idea. So
it's also a movie that like did its research on tennis. So there's like one point in the movie where one of the flashbacks when Zendaya and the cuck tennis player, like when they reconnect, it's like, so there's like this tennis tournament that's like, I think it's in Cincinnati. And it's like one of the big tennis, tournaments. And apparently like, when they meet at an Applebee's. So that Applebee's in tennis culture is a big deal because like Cincinnati is like a smaller city. So not a lot of things stay open, after the tournament's over, but Applebee's is open. So apparently, like that's the thing where like all the tennis players just go to this Applebee's, and so it's like a big part of the culture.
You get those $1 mixed drinks. Yeah,
no, Zendaya, she can't afford the calories.
Yeah, that movie. It was a great performance from all three of the lead actors there. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. I really felt my adrenaline pumping when they were playing tennis, and I don't give a shit about tennis. But they made tennis awesome. Remember when the tennis ball becomes the camera?
Another POV.
I've seen the clip. Yeah, POV of the tennis ball.
I will tell you, if you watch that on your phone or whatever, it doesn't do it justice at all. It's really cool to see on a bigger screen. I think the TV will do just fine, but like you should watch the whole movie. The score is great. It's like Trent Reznor, right? Yeah. And the ending of this movie is my favorite ending of the year. I won't spoil what happens, but I will say that by not knowing what tennis is, I kept thinking the movie was ending because they would do slow-mo of them getting ready to serve the ball, throw the ball up, hit the ball would go really fast, and I'm like, okay, this is the match point. This is it. And then they would dramatically show who gets the point, and then they would slow down, and then the techno music would start up again, and they kept going. They did it like 7 times, where I'm like, this is the match point because everything's so dramatic right now. And it was like, no, the movie refused to end. But I was here for it because I didn't want it to end. And then when it ended, I was like, that was amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if you've like ever like watched a tennis match, but like tennis matches can go a very long time sometimes, like 5-6 hours.
Yeah, I went to the French Open. I've seen tennis matches, and I'll tell you, it's an okay sport.
There's like a HBO comedy special with like Andy Samberg. Yeah, it's like 7 Days in Hell, where it's like Andy Samberg and Kit Harington are playing like a 7-day like tennis match.
Don't they both die at the end?
No, but they have a Challengers ending where they both. Sorry, I'm almost spoiling the movie.
But it's directed by Luca Guadagnino.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess most famous for Call Me by Your Name, but he's also had quite a few things. He had another movie this year, right?
Yeah, Queer.
Yeah,
he did the Suspiria remake, which I like a lot.
Mm-hmm. Did he do Bones and All?
Yeah, he did Bones and All.
Yeah. So
he likes sex. He likes movies about sex and identity and how it works with like personal relationships.
Yeah, but I've only seen Call Me by Your Name. That's the only one of his movies I've seen besides this one. And I gotta say, like, by making your tennis the sex, that's filmmaking on another level.
Also, a fun thing about this movie is, did you guys see Past Lives from last year?
No.
Okay. It was really good. I like that movie. But like, you know, the premise of the movie, right? That it's like also sort of like a love triangle centering around this one woman. The director of that movie, which is like inspired by her life, her husband is the screenwriter for Challengers. So everyone's just like, where did the intersex happen? Like,
these two love triangles must have a connecting point. Yeah.
Well, it's the important thing the Challengers gets right is that it's not a true love triangle
unless
every point of the triangle meets each other.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what he was saying, where it's like all like it's love triangle, all of them they connect, and then like, but also like Zendaya's character is like the center of gravity for like the whole movie, because even though like the movie is about this tennis match between like these two guys, it's all about Zendaya, like, you know, and her character, like she is really the center of gravity.
Wow.
And she's doing a fantastic job in the movie. Like, like if you weren't convinced that she is like, you know, like the movie star, like this is the movie that'll convince you that.
Yeah, and I feel like you could easily add these two guys.
Josh O'Connor is the one guy. I forget the other guy's name.
Remy.
Oh yeah, it's Mike Faced and Josh O'Connor. You're right. I think those guys will be added to our same current young A-list. So we'll see more of them in the next few years, and they'll probably be tapped for Dune 4. Yeah, just another spectacular cast, really memorable performances. Yeah, I loved it. I love Challengers. I think it's so cool and so fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. That's our top 5 of 2024, buddy. Good mix of movies. Not a ton of overlap on our lists.
Nope, just one movie that made all 3 of our lists.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get the LA bump to add all of the the limited releases for Oscar season onto our list. But it's good. We appreciate you coming on, Shane, and adding. You added like a lot of films that we wouldn't have otherwise talked about on this episode.
Yeah, that was helpful for sure.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. Like, I love talking movies, and like, if you need me to remote in for the Brutalist pod, you know, let me know. Like,
yeah, we'll hit you up.
Yeah,
sounds good. All right, guys, I think that's gonna do it for today's episode. Thank you for listening and/or watching. You can find more of us on our YouTube page, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your pods. Check out our Patreon. We have a free tier that we recently released, so you can support us without even giving us money. We just like seeing the numbers go up, baby. Join our Discord so you can have fun conversations like this one. Did I miss anything, Dylan?
No. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye. We out. We're done.
All right. Do you want to do a quick
go home
top 5 worst of the year?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that. Leave the cameras rolling.